Sayadaw has been explaining the 5 factors in order to be accomplished in the meditation practice. Among the 5 factors, Sayadaw has explained the first 3. One should be endowed with faith and confidence, one should have good health, and one should have honesty or sincerity. By being fulfilled with these basic foundations of faith and confidence, good health and honesty, then one will also be endowed with other factors. When practicing, being endowed with these factors as well as effort, one will discern the arising and passing away of the nama rupa. By being fulfilled with the cause, the effect will automatically arise. By being endowed with the 4 causes of the 5 factors, the effect will automatically arise without having to practice for it especially. Being endowed with the first 3 factors, as well as the 4th, which is the diligent effort, one will be endowed with the 5th factor automatically by being endowed with the first 4. One should have faith and confidence in the virtue of the Buddha, the virtue of the Dhamma, and the virtue of the Sangha. And if one is reluctant to have faith and confidence in a person, one should at least have the faith and confidence in the virtue of the Dhamma. Having faith and confidence in the Dhamma, one has the good foundation to practice, and one should have good health to enable the person to practice, and one should be honest. So these are the first 3 factors. And the 4th factor is to be endowed with diligent effort. And if one has these 4 factors, the 5th one will automatically be developed. And today Sayadaw will explain on the 4th factor from both theoretical and practical aspects. In the Buddha Sasana, it is important to have the true culture. It is important to be a true human. It is important to have humane mind. It is important to have human knowledge and to be an outstanding human. It is not so important to be well-to-do in life. It is not so special to have good earning, to have high standard of life in the worldly sense among the family or to the person. What is more important is the 3 trainings, Sila, Samadhi and Panya. It is more important to know the correct method of practice and to practice accordingly in order to uplift oneself through the practice. One should know the correct method as well as one should put it into practice. The correct method is to be mindful of the object that arises at the present moment. Whatever object arises, one should note it with ardent effort, and one should aim the noting mind onto the object. One should put effort in noting the object. By noting, observing the object with aim and effort, one will gain a good quality of the Dhamma. One will get the Dhamma virtue, and one will become a true human. One will have a humane mind. It is very important to have strong will to practice. In order to have strong will, one should know the virtue of the Dhamma. Knowing the virtue of the Dhamma, one will have faith and confidence. So it is important to know the virtue of the Dhamma in order to cultivate faith and confidence in the practice. By having strong will in the practice, one will practice accordingly. One will practice according to the teaching of the Buddha. So the yogis are instructed, yogis receive guidance and instruction to enable them to practice successfully. And it is important to listen to the guidance and instruction attentively, respectfully. And one will come to know the virtue of the Dhamma by listening to the guidance and instruction. Knowing the virtue of the Dhamma, one will have strong will to practice. In order to come and practice, one has to give up the worldly happiness in order to come to the retreat for meditation practice. One should have faith and confidence that through the practice, one will gain the kind of happiness that has a guarantee. In order to gain the kind of happiness that has a guarantee, one should be willing to give up the worldly pleasure that is insignificant. It is guaranteed that one will gain happiness through the practice. And when coming for practice, one should practice courageously in order to gain the true happiness. During the practice, one should practice with courageous effort. One should not be afraid to lose sleep. One should practice without regard to one's body and life. And one should not be afraid to get illness, or one should not be afraid to die. One should make sacrifices, willing to give up one's body and life in the practice. By practicing systematically, his or her practice will not be useless. By practicing diligently, according to the guidance and instruction, one will develop sati, mindfulness. One will also cultivate concentration, the mind falling calm, collected on the object. In order to develop sati and samadhi, one should aim one's noting mind onto the object. One should exert effort in noting the object so that the noting will be concurrent the noting will be effective and efficient. When the mind falls calm and collected on the object, one discerns the nama-rupa distinctly. One develops knowledge stage by stage. The first three factors of striving, when the first three factors of striving are endowed, when one is endowed with the first three factors, then one should also build up the courageous effort in the practice, which is the fourth factor. Yogis who are here, they have given up their jobs, their family members, coming many miles, coming from all the way, giving up the worldly pleasure, giving up the sensual pleasure in order to come to the meditation retreat. So when coming to the meditation center for their intensive retreat, they practice in order to gain the kind of happiness that excels many times than the worldly happiness. While they are here in the meditation retreat, if they do not practice diligently, they are losing the sensual pleasure as they have given up the sensual pleasure to come to the retreat. And if they don't practice here with courageous effort, they will also be losing the Dhamma happiness. So one should invest viriya, effort, in order to gain guarantee in one's life. So in order to make the good profit, in order to make the good Dhamma profit, it is important to invest courageous effort. In order to gain true happiness, one needs to exert courageous effort. The saddha, faith and confidence that has been awakened, the awakened saddha should be cultivated through the practice. So one should know the virtue of the Dhamma in order to have faith and confidence in the practice. Having faith and confidence, one will have strong will to practice. Having the strong will to practice, knowing the virtue of the Dhamma, one will be able to assert the courageous effort in the practice. Asserting courageous effort in the practice, sati, samadhi and panya, mindfulness, concentration and wisdom will be cultivated. So noting the object with aim and with courageous effort, sati, samadhi and panya will automatically be developed. It is sure to, noting the object with aim and courageous effort, one is sure to develop sati, samadhi and panya. Any person who has a stable mind do not want to be low in standard. Anyone who has the stable mind do not want to be inferior or to be of low standard. And if one wants everything to be of good standard, such as education, earning, making a living, one should make effort. In the same way, when one wants to be uplifted in moral conduct, one needs to have the courage to give up things that has no guarantee. there should be parijjhāga, giving up things that have no guarantee. By giving up things that have no guarantee, it will not be useless. Coming to the meditation, one has to give up the worldly pleasure in order to come to the retreat. So there is parijjhāga. And by practicing systematically, there will be parigāha. One will gain higher standard, higher situation through the practice. Practicing Satipatthana meditation can uplift the life of the person. In order to practice Satipatthana meditation, one should have the courage to give up the lower standard things. There should be parijjhāga, giving up the lower standard things in order to practice. And by practicing systematically, one will gain the higher standards in life. It is called parigāha. One will gain the higher standard in life through the practice. One should have the moral conduct in order to be true human. And also it is important to have a humane mind. It is important to be outstanding human, who is blameless, pure, clean, peaceful, and lovable. So such kind of qualities are really necessary. So one should struggle oneself in order to attain the higher standard from the lower standard. So in order to gain the higher standard, one should have courageous effort in the practice. Buddha said, Arada viriyo viharati. In order to gain the higher standard from the lower standard, one needs to exert effort. In order to uplift one's standard, one should exert initial effort, step up effort in order to dispel laziness. There should be effort stage by stage. Viharati means living, but it doesn't mean to live in comfort, but viharati means any kind of posture, walking, standing, sitting, lying, even the small postures such as bending, stretching, turning, opening and closing of the eyes, blinking. All of these should be done mindfully, and one should have continuous mindfulness on all these objects. Whenever new object arises, one should note the object with effort. One should note the object with effort so that mindfulness will stick onto the object. In order to be able to note the object, one should initiate the effort. One should have initial effort. One should have step-up effort. And one should exert effort stage by stage until one reaches one's goal. One should have viriya, effort. And in the Satipatthana practice, it is not used with the ordinary word as viriya, but there is the word atapa. Atapa means ardent effort. The person who possesses ardent effort is called atapi. in order to dry up the moisture of kilesa defilements, one should have ardent effort in noting the arising object every single second. One should not be cold or sluggish. One should be active, alert, ready in noting the object. There should be arambadhatu, diligent effort. There should be diligent effort in order to remove the unwholesomeness. Akusalana dhammana pahanaya. One should have diligent effort in order to remove the unwholesomeness. Kusalana dhammana upasambadaya. One should have the diligent effort in order to cultivate wholesomeness. In the practice to extinguish the defilements, raga, dosa, moha, one should have ardent effort. One should remove the defilements such as greed, hatred, grudge, aversion, delusion, not knowing. In order to remove the unwholesomeness that has the anger, aversion, delusion, one should not be lazy. One should remove these unwholesomeness with ardent effort so that the defilements, the unwholesomeness, will have no chance to arise. So one should practice with ardent effort so that the defilements, lobha, dosa, will not have chance to arise, and thus one will be pure and clean. In order not to accept kilesa defilements, in order not to accept unwholesomeness, one should dispel the defilements, unwholesomeness with ardent effort. Kusalana dhammana upasambadaya. If the unwholesomeness has no chance to arise, wholesomeness will automatically arise. Having ardent effort, the defilements are not accepted. The defilements have no chance to arise. In place of unwholesomeness, wholesomeness will arise. In this way, wholesomeness will be replacing unwholesomeness. If there is one moment of mindfulness, for that one moment there will be wholesomeness, and for that moment the unwholesomeness are removed. In order to remove unwholesomeness, one should have ardent effort. So if the person has practiced, the person will find that it is very satisfactory to be removing the unwholesomeness moment by moment by being mindful of the object. When does one need to have ardent effort? It is said as viharati. Viharati means in any posture, the body has to be in some kind of posture such as walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. So in any of these postures, one should be mindful, noting them, noting the object with ardent effort. When walking, one should focus one's mind on the foot, noting the steps, lifting, moving, and placing. In order to have mindfulness, in order to have concentration, one needs to focus the mind, noting the lifting, moving, and placing during the walking meditation. It is important not to be slack in the practice. It is important to have viriya, effort, in noting the object. When standing, one should also be mindful of the standing, noting the standing with aiming the mind onto the standing, putting ardent effort in noting the standing so that there will be sustained mindfulness. And also, other activities should be done mindfully without missing or failing to note. So there should not be gaps between the notings. One should always be noting the object with ardent effort so that the defilements will not have chance to arise. When defilements have no chance to arise, when there is mindfulness, the mind will be pure and clean. If there is 1 minute that one has effort continuously for 1 minute, for that 1 minute, the unwholesomeness will have no chance to arise. And if there is longer period where one is exerting effort, there will be longer period of defilements that have no chance to arise. There will be a longer period of removing the defilements, not giving chance for these defilements to arise by being mindful. When sitting down from standing position, one should also do it mindfully, sitting down, stage by stage, being mindful of the sitting down. And one should make the effort in noting the sitting down while sitting. And after one has sat down, one should be noting, starting from rising and falling of the abdomen. In the beginning of the practice, yogis are asked to note rising and falling after sitting down. So as soon as sitting down, one should start with rising and falling as being instructed in the beginning of the practice. There is desana dhamma, there is the sequence. There is the instruction and guidance mentioning the sequence, how one should be noting. So in the beginning, yogis should be noting according to the desana dhamma, according to the instruction, mentioning the sequence of their noting, such as one should start noting with the rising and falling of the abdomen in the beginning of the sit, as soon as the person sits. But later on, when the person becomes skillful in the practice, there will be pavatikama. There is no sequence how one should be noting, but in the sitting meditation, the sequence of noting will be according to how the objects arise. So in this way, one should be noting the object. In the sequence, the objects arise when the yogi becomes skillful, noting them with sustained mindfulness. In order to have sustained mindfulness, one should exert effort in the practice. When lying down in bed, one should be mindful of the lying down, and one should be mindful of the objects that arise during the lying down. So one should note all these objects with aim and effort. One should make the ardent effort in noting the object. That should be arata viriya. One should have diligent effort. Arata viriyo viharati, meaning one should note with ardent effort in whatever posture one is in, sitting, standing, lying down, walking, in order to remove the unwholesomeness, akusalanam dhammanam pahanaya. One should make the ardent effort in noting the object in whatever posture one is in order to remove the unwholesomeness, and kusalanam dhammanam upasampadaya, in order to develop and cultivate the wholesomeness. Buddha said that aradoko bhikkhave akusalanam dhammanam bhajahati, meaning that the person who has the diligent effort removes the unwholesomeness and cultivates wholesomeness. Savacam bhajahati anavacam bhaveti. The person who has diligent effort removes the unwholesomeness that are blameworthy, and one cultivates the wholesomeness that are blameless. Having diligent effort, one will remove unwholesomeness. Having diligent effort, the unwholesomeness will have no chance to arise, and thus they are removed, and one cultivates wholesomeness continuously. If there is diligent effort for 1 minute, there will be 60 moments of removing unwholesomeness and cultivating wholesomeness. If there is diligent effort for 5 minutes, there will be 300 moments of removing unwholesomeness and cultivating the wholesomeness, so that the mind will become from small to big, from tender to ripe, from less to many. The unwholesome mind will be increased and cultivated. It is called bhavana, that the mind becomes pure, clean, blameless, gentle, and lovable. As much one has diligent effort continuously, the more purified the person will be in body, speech, and mind. Attana sutta pariharati. By having diligent effort, one will be purifying oneself. If the person does not have diligent effort, the person will be making oneself dirty and polluted. Not having diligent effort, the person will be bearing polluted, dirty life all the time. Having diligent effort, one will be having pure, clean life, removing the unwholesomeness, removing the mental pollutants. So Jaraji encourages, may you all be able to practice with diligent effort in order to purify yourself. And that will be all for today.